Good morning, Mike Strickler here at the National Weather Service in Raleigh with your Thursday routine weekly briefing for Central North Carolina. This will cover the period today, of course, Thursday, June 20th through next Wednesday, June 26th. The upcoming pattern for Central North Carolina will be an increasingly hot one and unfortunately a mainly dry one. There's an anomalously strong area of high pressure and sinking and warming air centered over the northern middle Atlantic. It has been there for the last couple of days and resulted in excessive heat for our friends up across the Northeast and the northern middle Atlantic. And that area of high pressure is forecast to continue to move southward over much of the southern middle Atlantic, lower Ohio Valley and Tennessee Valley over the next couple of days. So the core of that heat that has been up across areas to the north of Central North Carolina will be migrating southward over our area during the course of the next several days, particularly this weekend when some of the hottest temperatures of the season are expected here in Central North Carolina. But until then, this area of high pressure offshore north of Bermuda has maintained a little bit of an easterly to northeasterly flow, which is onshore flow and a little bit cooler across much of the Carolinas and the South Atlantic states. So we're enjoying temperatures mostly in the upper 80s to around 90 today, and slightly warmer tomorrow as the flow becomes a little more southerly. But humidity levels really aren't too bad. Especially for this time of year with surface dew points in the upper 50s to low to mid 60s, and the dew points are a measure of the amount of moisture in the air. And really, until the dew points really get up into the upper 60s to lower 70s, it doesn't really feel too muggy and sticky out there. That will be arriving by the time we get into this weekend, but again, humidity levels shouldn't be too bad this afternoon and again tomorrow afternoon. Otherwise, the pattern for the next several days is one with that area of high pressure continuing to remain over the Carolinas and much of the Southeast, while the cold front will make a run toward our area late Monday into Tuesday. It looks like it really weakens by the time it gets down into the Carolinas, and it may focus our relative best chance of showers and storms during the day Monday, particularly over the eastern half of Central North Carolina. But unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of cool air behind it. If anything, it may knock the humidity out from this weekend just a little bit. So dew points may be dropping back into the 50s for Monday and Tuesday afternoons, but continued hot. And then dew points and humidity levels likely to increase once again by the time we get into the middle part of next week, as we remain south of the main frontal zones that remain situated up across the Great Lakes and the northern tier of the United States. So again, the main story is going to be increasing heat, and it looks like it's going to linger for the foreseeable future. And unfortunately, not a whole lot of relief when it comes to chances of showers and storms. So things are getting drier out there, and unfortunately, it looks like that trend will continue. Based on that forecast, of course, if we don't have any showers and storms in the forecast through Saturday, we certainly don't have any chance of severe storms. So no risk of severe weather, and no risk of flash flooding, which you'll see just in just a moment. But this is the accumulated or individual day precipitation forecast from the Weather Prediction Center, and then the 5-day total. And you'll note today bone dry across Central North Carolina again for the most part. Tomorrow, maybe a couple of showers developing along the coastal areas and spreading inland toward the southern coastal plain and sandhills. You see a little blip of green there just east of Fayetteville, north of Clinton. But again, mainly dry, and even if a shower does make a run into Central North Carolina down in that neck of the woods, it's going to be very, very light and not contribute to a whole lot of wetting of the drying conditions. And then by Sunday, that chance of showers and storms does increase to climatological chances, maybe a 20% or so chance Sunday afternoon and evening, but really not a whole lot of relief from that. And then again, as that front approaches and weakens as it moves into our area Monday, that will provide our best chance of showers and storms, again, mainly in the eastern part of the state. But even that doesn't look like it's going to be a crazy widespread wetting rain. It's just going to be some folks get maybe a half an inch to an inch, inch and a half, something like that, and then a few miles away, not a whole lot of anything. So a little hit or miss with that activity. And then, of course, the 5-day total. Most of that 5-day total is coming from the chances of showers and storms on Monday. As I noted, no risk of flash flooding because the forecast is dry through Saturday. The latest drought update. This was shared by our climate partners downstairs at the climate office. They always do a nice graphic with the changes week over week and the outlook. And there has been an introduction of abnormally dry conditions over particularly the eastern half of the state and northern half since the outlook from last week, given that it's been relatively dry for the last week and temperatures have been warming up. There has been some increased wildfire activity, especially in the eastern part of the state. We're doing some conference calls with the Forest Service daily now to account for that. And then again, it looks like things are going to continue to be hot, mainly dry, and we'll likely see worsening drought conditions. This is a hazards outlook shared by the Climate Prediction Center with both excessive heat over the southern middle Atlantic and Carolinas forecast for the end of this month into early July, and related development of rapid onset drought. So it's likely that those abnormally dry conditions that were introduced with the drought monitor just from this morning will turn to at least some drought conditions by the time we get into the end of this month and the beginning of July, provided the forecast indeed is still a dry one and things don't change relative to the way it appears now. In the tropics, they are active. Alberto has moved into northeastern Mexico. It was a tropical storm, has been downgraded to a tropical depression now that it's moved inland. That system will continue to weaken as it moves across northern and northeastern Mexico. There is another area of disturbed weather near and north of the Bahamas that's forecast to approach the southeastern United States coast over the next couple of days. It looks like that system has some potential, about a 40% chance of development as it approaches the northern Florida coast and the coast of Georgia. The hurricane hunters are planning to investigate that system this afternoon. If it continues to show signs of potential development, it does look like there's a little circulation center out there in the visible satellite imagery this morning. So certainly some potential there, but anything that does develop, it looks like it will be steered to the south of central North Carolina and not be really an impact for us, at least not directly. If anything, the flow around that system and the area of high pressure north of Bermuda will funnel those higher dew points and increasing humidity levels up into the eastern Carolinas and eventually central Carolinas late this week and particularly this weekend. But it looks like that's going to be the main impact, is just increasing the humidity levels up through the South Atlantic states. Otherwise, no concerns in the tropics. The 8 to 14-day temperature and precipitation outlook from the Climate Prediction Center has a 70 to 80% chance of above normal temperatures. So again, it looks like this heat that is going to be materializing over our area through the weekend is likely to stick around for next week and perhaps all the way through the rest of this month, unfortunately. And the precipitation outlook near normal chances, although just the way the forecast looks, that may trend toward below normal with time, just because it looks like a relatively dry forecast. The graphical experimental hazard viewer here with the hazardous weather outlook. Really the only hazards we're anticipating are from the excessive heat, which again is going to be the main story, especially this weekend and likely continuing into next week. And it looks like that risk level will be significant. And then risk of lightning, relatively low from those isolated to perhaps scattered afternoon and evening thunderstorms, or the chances of those that arrive Sunday, continuing into the early to middle part of next week. But again, really Monday's the best chance of that, and then Tuesday, Wednesday look relatively dry. So it's going to be pretty slim pickings when it comes to those showers and storms and the threat of lightning. In summary, main impact, increasing heat, high pressure keeping us dry, and that small chance of showers and storms beginning Sunday, peaking in relative terms Monday. And it looks like with that heat, we could have heat index values in excess of 100 degrees. In some areas, perhaps 105 to 110. And we may have some heat hazards and products issued at some point to account for that excessive heat that we're anticipating. This excessive heat is relatively early season, coming a little bit before our peak in average temperatures, which does not arrive until the middle of July. So based on the somewhat early arrival of this heat wave and the fact that it's going to be in the 90s most of the period with heat index values 100 to 105, it will be dangerous. So take necessary precautions, make sure your pets are in a relatively cool spot if they have one, drinking water, wear lightweight, loose-fitting clothing, minimize your time outside during the hottest hours of the day, minimize your exposure to the sun. Don't forget to check the back seat of your vehicles. It gets very, very hot and deadly in vehicles that are left, for those left unattended, children and pets in particular, and check on the elderly, and again, as I noted, your pets. So usual heat precautions, take care of one another. It's going to be hot and mainly dry. And that concludes this week's weekly briefing for Thursday. We'll see you guys again on Monday.